The latest season of Devil May Cry brought us the Dante and Vergil mayhem we'd been looking for since the very first season. Sure, season 2 gave us no death of great villains, but nothing was better than watching my boys throwing swords at each other on heaven and earth. The way Dante's clever wit complemented Vergil's stoic demeanor was absolutely flawless, and after seeing how each action or emotional sequence was paired with the most iconic tunes, I have absolutely no complaints. While season 1 was mostly the red coat wearing Demon Slayer's rodeo, the second season saw a lot more of Vergil, especially with the Great Sorcerer Arius thrown into the mix. First seen in the second DMC video game, here too Arius is the head of the Uroborus, which was actively working to raise Argosax, the god of chaos. This forced Vergil and Dante to team up in order to deal with this world-ending threat, and as a result, they strategically drew Argosax to Makai in order for Demon King Mundus to take care of it. Even with Arius and Argosax out of the picture by the end, we still had a lot of conflict going on at the end, especially with Vergil choosing to fight Mundus alone after sending his brother back to Earth, along with both pieces of the perfect amulet. Of course, season 3's not yet been greenlit, but given the open-ended nature of season 2, I'm sure we're getting one. Series creator Adi Shankar has given quite a lot of animation hits to Netflix, starting with Castlevania, Castlevania Nocturne, Guardians of Justice, and Captain Laserhawk, a Blood Dragon remix. So, I'm undoubtedly excited for season 3. Now, without wasting another moment, let's discuss theories on what could happen in the next season.
Well, Mary, coming to see dear old Dad.
The next season will be Jester maxing. One of the greatest additions to Devil May Cry Season 2 was Jester, the creepy demon clown who already has a major legacy in the video game franchise. In the Netflix series, he acts like Mundus' twisted court jester, but it quickly becomes clear that he's been manipulating everyone around him and secretly playing both sides. By the time the finale rolls around, the show strongly hints that Jester will have an even bigger role moving forward. For those who don't know, Jester originally debuted in Devil May Cry 3, which many gaming enthusiasts still consider to be the best entry in the series. Increasingly, the animated adaptation had already been teasing parts of his backstory as far back as Season 1, making his full arrival in Season 2 feel like a long-awaited payoff. The big reveal in the finale is that Jester's actually John Arkham, Lady's father. After learning the truth for herself, Lady becomes determined to avenge her mother's death and finally confront the trauma that's haunted her for years. That decision seems to set up what will likely become her main storyline in a potential third season. At the same time, Season 2 also pushed Dante and Lady's relationship further than ever before, with the two clearly developing genuine feelings for each other. But with Lady now heading down a more personal and revenge-driven path, their dynamic could easily become more complicated moving forward. For now, the real world has been saved from both Arius and Mundus, but the conflict between Earth and Makai is far from over. The fallout from that war is bound to leave lasting consequences on both sides, which could shape the future of the series in a major way. Amidst all this, it seems like Joker's not only vying for power, but also reveling in the chaos he's been creating. I have a feeling that Season 3 will see how Arkham really became Jester, and more importantly, how he even ended up in Mundus' inner circle. As far as goals go, I think this dude's playing the long game. He'll keep creating confusions and misunderstandings on all sides until everyone fights each other to the death, leading him to grab the power vacuum left behind. I'm truly excited to see how Adi Shankar handles his character. I doubt Lady will kill her father. Of course, us fans of the overarching franchise games already saw the big twist coming, but for viewers who are only familiar with Devil May Cry through the animated series, the reveal that Jester is actually Arkham must have been a huge shock. And honestly, like I said, there's still a lot of unanswered questions surrounding his transformation. We know Arkham was horribly burned after killing and consuming his wife, Colleen, but the show didn't explain how he evolved from that point to the chaotic evil he is now, let alone how he ended up serving as a double agent within Mundus' court, while also working alongside Arius. There's also the mystery of how Jester moves so freely between Makai and Earth without relying on portals or demonic artifacts like everyone else seems to. That alone suggests there's far more to his powers than the series has revealed so far. Now that Arius is dead, Jester's next move is even harder to predict. Does he genuinely want to reconnect with Lady and was looking out for her all along? Or is he simply manipulating and tormenting her for his own amusement? Either way, the story seems to be building toward an inevitable confrontation between father and daughter. At first glance, it might seem obvious that Lady will eventually hunt down and kill Arkham, but if the show has proven anything so far, it's the fact that revenge in Devil May Cry is never simple. Jester's actually the kind of character who would twist emotions by using guilt, manipulation, and old memories to get inside Lady's head. There's even a chance he could make her sympathize with him despite everything he's done. And if that happens, Lady may actually struggle to fulfill her goal. Still, if Jester tries to exploit that forgiveness or manipulate her one more time, it's hard to imagine Lady showing any mercy. Vergil has very slim chances of winning against King Mundus. Season 2's ending clearly seemed to be setting up a huge confrontation between Vergil and Mundus, but after watching Vergil struggle against even a partially powered Argosax, it's quite hard to imagine him defeating Mundus right away. If anything, it feels more likely that Season 3 could open with Vergil suffering a crushing defeat against Mundus, thus forcing him into exile while he regroups and grows stronger. Or maybe he would first be caged and tortured by Mundus in his dungeons as punishment for retaliation. Plus, Vergil took away the Demon King's only chance to invade Earth, so Mundus will definitely be taking out that wrath on him. The interesting part is that Vergil probably wouldn't even be shocked by losing because deep down, he already seemed aware that he had not reached his full potential yet. Throughout Season 2, there were several hints that he still views the part of his humanity or his sapient side as a weakness, holding him back from becoming truly Machian. At the same time, he's made it clear that he has no intention of serving Mundus. We know that Vergil wants power for himself and truly wants to rule Makai before eventually conquering Earth, but there's still a massive gap between that ambition and where he currently stands. I mean, dude is clearly suffering from an identity crisis as he's never treated to be demon enough for the Machians or does not consider himself to be human enough for Earth. That's probably why he chose not to go back with Dante before the rift closed, and that's why Season 3 could take Vergil in a much more reflective direction. Unlike Season 2, where he burst onto the scene with non-stop momentum, the next chapter might slow things down and finally focus on his internal struggle, his recovery, and the brutal process of becoming stronger. The Machians he helped free from Darkcom and the Uroborus Corporation could easily become his allies during that journey, offering him shelter, support, and motivation while he rebuilds himself after losing to Mundus. And eventually, once Vergil reaches his true potential, the story could circle back to a rematch with Mundus. This time, though, the fight would mean more than just power, as it would also be Vergil's chance to finally avenge his mother Ava and settle the hatred that has been driving him all along. Dante will definitely be making a trip to Makai. By the end of Season 2, Dante was arguably at the lowest point he's ever been at, and I'm saying this after the previous season ended with him being kidnapped and frozen in a stasis pod by Darkcom. Dante's lost to Vergil all over again, and this time he has no clear way of reaching Makai to bring him back. Even if he has both pieces of the amulet, without Sparda's sword, it probably isn't enough to reopen the rift between the two worlds. On top of that, Lady has gone off on her own mission to confront Jester, leaving Dante more isolated than ever. At this point, the only real connection Dante has on Earth is Maddie, Professor Lucan's granddaughter. And considering that Maddie has also experienced devastating loss, there's a strong chance the two could develop a meaningful bond moving forward. Season 3 could easily explore both characters helping each other heal while trying to move on from everything they've endured. Of course, Dante's biggest goal is still saving Vergil, whether that means searching for another way into Makai or uncovering secrets tied to Sparda and the amulet. It feels inevitable that Dante will spend a good part of the next season trying to find his brother again. But if he decides Vergil needs time alone after everything that happened, Dante might instead turn his ambition toward finding Lady before her obsession with revenge gets her killed in a confrontation with Jester. There's also the lingering issue of Dante's devil trigger and his inability to fully access or control his demon form, which has been one of the biggest unresolved struggles in the series so far. far. If Season 3 simply repeats that conflict without evolving it, it could start to feel stale. So the next chapter would probably need to push Dante forward, finally unlocking or mastering that side of himself. I think Maddie could play an important role in that journey too, since Lucan clearly possessed supernatural abilities. It's reasonable to assume Maddie may have inherited powers of her own, and training alongside Dante could help her discover and develop those abilities. In a lot of ways, Maddie mirrors Dante and Vergil, as she too was someone who was forced to witness tragedy and destruction far too young. That shared pain could allow Dante to step into the mentor role by helping her deal with grief and anger without letting darkness consume her the way it had consumed so many others in the series. With everyone in power dead, there will be a power vacuum on Earth. With President Hopper, Vice President Baines, and Darkholm/Uroborus CEO Arius von Ehrenberg all dead by the end of Season 2, the United States has essentially been thrown into utter chaos. Martial law is now in effect, and for the moment, the military appears to be running the country. But that kind of power vacuum never stays empty for long, which means eventually someone is going to step up and try to take control of what's left. Now, Dante doesn't really seem like the type to lead a nation, and Lady's far too consumed by her own personal mission against Daddy Jester to care about politics right now. That leaves someone unexpected like Tom, the man who helped Lady during the final stretch of the season. At first glance, Tom doesn't seem like a future leader, but he's actually been through more than most characters in the series. He witnessed firsthand how fear, nationalism, and religion were manipulated to control people, and unlike many others, he chose to reject the propaganda and support the people who were genuinely trying to save the world. That experience may have prepared him more than anyone realizes. Because of that, it's possible the series is quietly positioning Tom as someone who could help rebuild the country, even if it may not be as president or vice president. However, if nobody competent steps in, the aftermath of Season 2 could push America into complete lawlessness. And this would not be an ordinary case. With Darkholm's advanced weapons now potentially loose in the world, criminals, mercenaries, and extremist groups could gain access to the technology powerful enough to destabilize entire cities. If Tom really does decide to take charge of the chain of command and help steer the country in a better direction, he surely would have to move fast. The world now knows demonic invasions are real, and humanity is nowhere near prepared for what could come next. Irrespective of that, I do expect to see new leaders who will probably be bringing in new eccentricities that would end up being a major pain in the ass for our heroes. We might get lucky enough for a Sparda cameo. Season 1 barely gave us any real information about Sparda, while Season 2 finally started digging into his legacy with a few meaningful scenes. But at this point, Season 3 really needs to go all in on this character. I mean, the series has spent so much time teasing Sparda's story arc without ever fully explaining who he truly was. And us frustrating fans are definitely ready for more than just tiny hints and passing references. To the show's credit, it's surely done a great job at presenting conflicting perspectives about him. Some characters see Sparda as a legendary warrior, while others seem to view him as a selfish or absent figure. Now, it feels like the story needs to finally give us the truth from Sparda's own perspective, especially when it comes to why he abandoned Ava, Dante, and Vergil. That's definitely one of the biggest unanswered questions hanging over the entire series. Why did he leave his family behind? Was it something personal? Did he grow tired of living among humans and simply disappear into another realm? Or was he forced away by some larger threat connected to Mundus or Makai? And if Sparda is still out there, why hasn't he returned to avenge Ava himself? Honestly, it's hard to believe he's actually dead. TV and movies have basically trained audiences to follow one simple rule, which is, if you don't see the body, that character is probably not gone. And so far, Devil May Cry has never shown definitive proof that Sparda actually died. Because of that, there's a strong chance he's still alive and is being saved for a major reveal later on. And if that reveal does happen to be in Season 3, then the series could finally give us the long-awaited Sparda and Sons family reunion. But considering how fractured Dante and Vergil already are, it's difficult to imagine that reunion being very emotional in a happy way. In fact, it'd probably force both brothers to confront uncomfortable truths about their father, their family, and the legacy they spent their lives chasing. Well, that was my 2 cents about what's to come in the next 18 months or so. I'm truly excited to see how the show will handle the Jester arc and go on to introduce Nero, Trish, and V in the distant future. Now, what are your thoughts and theories about Devil May Cry Season 2? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay marvelous.